Good to see you. So do you work with
Oh, you do? I do. You're going to go to yeah, like, no, hey, make sure
all right, we're going to get started. Yeah.
We're getting started, everybody. Come on, take your seats.
Well, thank you for everyone. Thanks everyone for coming to the Salesforce Integration and Analytics Meetup. This is the third one we've had, so definitely appreciate everyone coming. My name is David Hecht. I'm from Cloudian, and we're a Salesforce implementation and sales analytics firm, specializing in lead scoring and dashboards and reports. And I want to thank MuleSoft for sponsoring this event this time, paying for the food and drinks. And thank you. And Rackspace for letting me use their office every time, trusting me to close this place up. And without further ado, I want to introduce Deepa Patel. Oh yeah, sorry. So Deepa's got some door prizes, and so I'm going to pass this around. If you have not put your business card in here, please do. We promise you'll only get one email per day. But yeah, pass that around, and we're going to have some exciting prizes. Deepa is a Salesforce MVP and the owner of Halak.
That's fine.
Halak Consulting. And she's going to give a presentation about the new Salesforce joined reports. So thank you.
Thank you, David. I'm hoping everybody can hear me. A little quick description or background. I worked for the mortgage industry for 8 years, and then I sold software for 10 years, and I've been doing CRM consulting for 9 years now, so kind of aging myself a little bit there. But doing Salesforce.com consulting for almost 3.5, 4 years now, and absolutely love what I do. So I'm hoping you guys will enjoy what I have to show today. I've kept it very simple. I'm not going to go into a very, very complex presentation here, just because joined reports is a very new concept that just came out in spring 12. And we've got a few other enhancement features that I released with summer 12. So we're going to quickly talk about, I'm going to show you how those work with joined reports. But before I get into that, just with a quick show of hands, how many people here actually tell their admins to write reports on Salesforce? Okay. Okay. How many people here write reports themselves on Salesforce? Okay. And how many of you have attempted a joined reports? 2 people, right? Okay, cool. It kind of gives me an idea. How many people here don't use Salesforce at all? A lot. Are you guys planning to use Salesforce?
Yes. Yes.
Good. Good for you. I'll tell you this. It is a totally fantastic platform. I mean, I've not seen such a good CRM system out there in the marketplace. Nothing beats it. So you guys are definitely going to be good with that. Having said that, what I want to start with is how the non-joined reports architecture works. For those who write reports themselves, you probably are aware of this a little bit. For those who are not, this gives you a chance to understand the basic structure. The way Salesforce works is, how many of you have known the term objects? Okay, so you have objects, which is basically a record type. So you have accounts in the system, which is an object, and then you have opportunities when you go out and get business from salespeople, and that is associated with the account, and it has a parent-child relationship. The account is the parent, and the opportunity is the child. And then you have products that are associated with opportunities, and you have schedules. So the traditional reporting, the way it works is you can only retrieve data from a parent to a child to another child to another child, okay? If you had a horizontal relationship, which I'm going to show, Salesforce, you couldn't do that up until now. And that is why, how many of you have heard of Conga? Conga reports? This is why Conga reports was very successful, and they're still going to be successful because there's still a lot of limitations with the joint reports. But Conga allowed you to go horizontal, but up until now you could not go horizontal. So what do I talk about? What do I mean by horizontal? So let's say you have an account and you have the opportunities, and how many of you manage like a lot of tasks and activities along with the accounts, right? Like that are associated with the accounts. And you want to kind of get an idea where you want both the opportunities that are associated with the account and the activities. And if you've done any custom development, you want a custom object, right? You couldn't do that with the traditional Salesforce reporting. You could not get data from all three objects associated to a parent. So it was like a combination of 3 children versus going parent, child, grandchild relationship. Right? So joint reports allows you to get data across them. That's the whole beauty about it, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, before we go that, these are the kind of limitations right now with the joint reports still, okay? You can't add cross filters. You can't add bucket fills. How many of you here know what bucket fills are, bucketing is in reports? One person. Does anybody else know? Okay. Once I'm done, and if I have a little bit of time, I'll quickly show you what bucketing means. Bucketing allows you to basically group data without having to have a field to use as a grouping in Salesforce. That's what bucketing is. So you don't have row limits. You can't drag and drop filters from the, from the fields pane to the filter pane the way you can do with regular reports. You can't apply conditional highlighting on the joint reports. You can't schedule them, and that's one of the biggest limitations right now because you can't export it to Excel. Like the joint reports, there's no export feature. So you just view it on screen, and that's about it, okay? That to me is like, that needs to be taken care of right away. That's like the highest priority. And then you can't use joint reports and analytic snapshots. Anybody here done analytic snapshots? 2 people. Analytic snapshot, for those who don't know, is basically historical data. Remember, reporting in Salesforce, the way you save reports, it stores the criteria, not the actual data. So every time you run a report, you get current data, not historical data. Analytic snapshots allows you to create that history, so you can get historical data as well. And then you can't change the hierarchy. So these are some of the limitations. Now, the report that I'm going to show you is going to be about classes scheduled. And what do I mean by that? I got very lucky. Being a consultant, I get requests all the time from clients saying, well, we want to use Salesforce, and is it going to work in our environment? Well, I have a business mentor who came to me and said, I want to use Salesforce. I'm like, great. He does training. He does management training for different companies. So his business is selling classes. And in turn, he also has instructors who go out there and teach classes, right? So he sent me a 4-page document saying, here's all my requirements. I wanted to integrate with Eventbrite. I wanted to integrate with all the social media sites. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that, like 4 pages. And I said, okay, how am I going to gain this business? I can write a proposal, but how am I going to know that this is exactly going to work? So what I ended up doing was I ended up taking my demo org and making it exactly to fit his business. And luckily, I have a fantastic, fantastic org that I'm about to show you. Because I've been able to develop where I've got a custom object for classes, I've got assignments. So you've got resources, right? Like your resources are internal instructors and external instructors, right? You're going to go out there and get contract teachers to come and teach your classes. So you have your resources, you have assignments, you have people that teachers you're assigning to classes, And the assignment is what we call a many-to-many or a junction object. Anybody here a junction object? Where you can have many resources assigned to one class, and you can have many classes assigned to one resource. So the assignment acts as a bridge, giving you the ability to create a many-to-many relationship. So that's what my org, and out of that also came, I have a customer portal set up so that when you have outside instructors, they can log in and look at their schedule and the classes that have been assigned to them. So I got a fantastic org here. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually just delve into the org. This is my org right now. It's called Halak Education, obviously. And we're going to go right into reports. I have some fun dashboards that I have. Hopefully next time I come and talk, we can talk about dashboards if anybody wants to talk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with building a new report. Okay, and the report that I want, now it's time for me to put on my glasses. I can't see. The report we wanted is, we've got classes schedules, and I want to see how many resources have been assigned to those classes. That's my goal, okay? So I'm going to select, how many of you know of this quick find feature that allows you to search different objects? This is a blessing. So I'm going to look for classes, and it narrows the list down for me. And I'm going to select classes with accounts. Because what I want is I want the report to show me all the classes for the accounts that I have. Okay? And then the assignments. So I'm going to select classes with account. And I'm going to say create. And now I have all my classes with accounts. Basic Salesforce gives me the view right there. Okay? So I'm going to say, instead of my classes, I want to see all classes. Change the filter. And I'm going to say all time. And instead of that, what I want to do is I want to look at the current year's classes. So I'm applying filters to this right now. And bear with me for a second here. Sure enough, I forget. All right. I had to cheat sheet for myself. So we're going to wing it now. All right. So now I have the class number and the account name, but that's not enough, right? I want to see more information. So I'm going to go and say, what is my start date? Okay. So I'm going to get the start date for this class. I'm going to get the end date. Okay, and I really don't have much of a mouse space here. Move that out. And then I'm going to get total number of hours. And I'm going to get the status. And there's a reason I'm doing this, so that I can show you some of the cool things that you can do with Salesforce, right? How many of you actually use the images or the, what's it called? Little icons. How many of you guys use this for your Salesforce? One? That's it? This is really fun. You can do a lot to educate the end user on what's happening. All right? So now, great, I've got all this information. So how do I add the resource information, right? How do I go add assignments? See how many classes have been, like who's been assigned for those classes, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this from a tabular report to a joined report. And what ends up happening when I do that, I get a box, a block. And so all my data for class is going to stay in this block. It's not going to move out of that block. It's just going to stay in there. Now I'm going to add the assignments that I want. So when I come here and I click on Add Report Type, okay, I'm going to type in assignments, and if I type right, I have classes with assignments, okay. When I select this, now, the one thing that I want you to highlight, when I select my next object, on the top right, see it says if you select this record type, common fields for this report will come from these objects. What this does is this gives you a common field, common field that's going to let you group those. So in our case here, and I'll tell you why that's important, but I want you to pay attention to that we're going to get common fields from class, owner, and user. Okay? Because if this is what's absolutely important when you want to group things together between two different blocks of data. All right? And it'll make sense just here, just in a little bit here. So, what I have here is on the right is a list of all the assignments I have, and on the left, I have a list of all the classes. Does anyone realize we've got extra classes compared to the assignments, right? We've got more records for classes and we've got less records for assignments. This is why we want to group them by the class so that we can see which assignment belongs to which class, right? Because otherwise right now they're independent. They're independent blocks of data. And so we want to group them so we can see the common field, like a common area. So what ends up happening with Salesforce is when you select a joined block, the common fields, you get 3 sections here. You get a section with all the common fields. So if I increase class info, those are all the fields that are going to be common to both the blocks. Okay? Then I have a whole section for classes with the account, and I have a whole section for classes with assignments. So all the fields show up in 3 different blocks. This is the common field that I can use to group things with. Those are the only fields I can use to make groups when I want to group a report and create a summary report. What do I mean by group? Is a summary report. Okay? The rest is just detail level that's going to be at the row level detail. Does that make sense? Any questions so far? Okay. So what I'm going to do now is, and I wish I had more real estate space on this particular browser, but I don't. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go look for the assignment start date. So if I type in a date, what? I am the world's worst typer. Okay. So when you type the date, it comes up with all the dates that are there. And so I'm going to select start date, end date, and drag and move them out here. Now, the one thing that I want to point out is right now I have assignment number. That doesn't make sense to me, right? It's just a record number. So what I really want here is the resource name. So I'm actually going to remove this, and I'm sorry guys, I'm struggling with real estate space on here. We're going to remove the column, and I'm actually going to look for name. And I'm going to bring it in the resource name here, right? So I've got the resource name, and that shows me who's been assigned to this particular resource, and what are my start date, and what are my end date. I'm not going to worry about the formatting as much, and I still have the same thing here. And the one thing I do want to bring in here, because I'm going to use that in formulas, is the total hours for the assigned roles. So I'm going to bring that here, and I'm going to keep it actually here, just so that we can see. Now, what I want to do is I want to group this by class name, and you'll see the difference right away. When I bring this out here as a group, and I want you guys to see the difference, okay? See now, for Executive Training 102, I have these are the classes, and those are the people that are assigned. So let's go over this way here a little bit. Now, can anyone figure out why I have this first block, which is blank with no classes, but I have assignments? I'm sorry?
Semester didn't start yet.
No, that's not the case. It has to do with filters, all right? This is where I got tripped up a lot in the beginning. I applied a filter to my first block. What was the filter for my first block? I said, I want all classes for the current year, right? I've not applied filters to my second block yet. So if I go down here, look what my filters say. It says just my classes and custom, right? So what I want to do is I want to come here and say, I want all classes, and I want it just for the current year, and guess what? That blank class went away. Okay? I don't have that. I'm trying to show you guys things that I trip up on, so that when you guys go out there and try it, it's like, okay, I know what to look out for. Because these join reports, they're absolutely trippy. I mean, I've started like 3 times, just scratched it and start all over, just because I trip up here and there. So what I'm trying to do is point out things that you guys will trip up on, okay? So having said that, so now we have a fantastic report we've got are that, let's do a total on hours. So I'm going to summarize on this. So I'm kind of also showing you different features, things you can do. So I can summarize, and I'm going to summarize hours on here. Okay. Now, does anyone notice something that's very annoying on these reports? 3 records and 1 record, right? So one new feature that came out in summer 12, you now have the ability to hide that. And the way you hide that is if you click on the block, there's the drop down, and uncheck record count, I know. The intuitive way would they come up and say, okay, so now that's gone. All right, so that's one of the enhancements in summer 12. All right, the next enhancement in summer 12 is cross-block formulas. So if you think about it, okay, for this particular training, and this report looks so much nice, and I'm going to try and show you the end result. I just don't have enough real estate on this machine, so it's like my screen's small. It says I've sold 120 hours worth of classes, but I've only got assigned 40 hours. Are you going to expect me to do the math on this for the difference? Should I pull out my calculator and do that math? Up until now, we couldn't do calculations between 2. How much time do I have, David?
Couple minutes.
Couple minutes? Okay. I'm almost to the end here. So, see here how you have, and where is my cross-off? Okay. That's interesting.
Get the name written out.
Thank you. See this cross-block formula? I actually double-click on that, and it brings up the same formula builder, okay? And I can come in here, and I can say, I want the total hours, and I'm sorry, I'm doing this the wrong way. That's not what I needed to do. What I needed to do was do hours. So I take the total hours. All right. Thank you. All right, never mind. Since I have only 2 minutes. But basically, what I can do is I can build a formula here that takes the total hours of the first block, subtract the total hours of the second block, and I can add that field to the report, and that'll give me the difference between at the summary level, right? And that says, okay, you've got 60 hours that you've not assigned yet. So it gives you that difference. Now, one other thing that I wanted to point out as I was thinking is, has anyone run into where you're like, I want to do calculations at the row level, and I want it in the report? How many of you get those requests? Do you know what the trick is to do with that? Anyone? Nobody? You guys are so quiet. The trick is you build the field at the object level and don't display it on the page. Salesforce on the object page, but use that here to build formulas at the row level. So that's one really neat trick. So you get the data from the object, from all the information, and you create those formula fields. They're hidden behind the scenes, which you can bring them into reports so that you can get all different calculated fields at the row level here in the report. So if I were to run this report, it looks a lot better. And I actually had a chart in here. You can add charts to these reports as well. So this is kind of what the report looks like, where you have your executive training, you know, you've got your total hours. I would have added another column that would have given you a summary that says, you know, like it's 60 hours that you've not scheduled yet. And then here you can see that, you know, for applied materials, we've sold 2 classes, but we haven't assigned it to anyone yet. So this is a great management report. And the reason I'm showing you this, because there are so many demos out there for how opportunities, you know, closed opportunities and open opportunities, and everybody shows everything about just Salesforce opportunities. I wanted to show you guys something different, how you can apply the same thing to different when you have custom objects, so you want to go after custom data. Okay? Any questions? No questions? Okay.
Yeah, question.
Yeah.
How would you accomplish this before joint reports?
We used Conga because you couldn't do it in Salesforce. You just couldn't do it in Salesforce. It didn't let you. So if you look at, let me quickly show you my data structure here. So if I went to, I'm going to open the accounts in a new tab. And let's go to Applied Materials and Engineering. If you look at this, and like I have like the opportunities, and then I have the classes, and I have assignments. You know, all the child relationship to the account. Okay, so I have so many clients where we definitely use Conga because you could not get data from opportunities and classes and assignments. You just couldn't do that. So we use Conga Composer for that. And I mean, and that's one thing. And I think David and I have talked about it. That the next time, one of the next presentations I can do, I can come and show you how Conga works, and it's really neat. Conga is really, really neat.
Are there restrictions on the number of objects you can join?
Yes. You can only have 5 blocks in a joined report, and you can have 14? 14, you can go after 14 objects that you can add report types. So you can bring in 14 objects, but you can only have 5 blocks on the report. You can't have any more than that. Okay? Any other questions? Okay, you guys are very quiet. I'm used to noisy people. All right, so what we're going to do is we have, did everyone put their cards in?
Last chance.
Last chance? Right. So, well, you're going to pick. I'm not going to pick. What did I draw? Oh. We've got 3 gifts. You asked me to read.
Oh, sorry. Let me read it.
Angela, hey?
She left.
Oh,
She left. I mean, you have to be here. You have to be here. Okay. And Jill, Len,
all right. There we go.
I don't know how to say that name. How do you say your name?
Jelle van Geuns.
Are you French?
No, Dutch.
Dutch? I'm so sorry.
That's all right. I'm pretty used to it.
I just have to remember it's like one. Here's another one. Out of the box consulting, Reuben.
It's like Ruben with a V.
Reuben.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Awesome. We've got all these CEOs here. This is so great. Okay, this is a good one. Jeremy.
Yeah, she was sitting right here. Isn't that amazing?
Hickman.
Angela was sitting here. This is a winning row.
That's a lucky roll. I can't believe you picked it like that.
And we found a Starbucks card. Is this anybody's? You can give it away. I don't know.
Cool. Did you put those back?
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
All right.
Well, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you, Deepa.
For those of you who would like to contact me, here's my contact information real quick. But the link to my website is also on the Meetup group. So if anyone needs to, get a hold of me.
Ready?
With that, we will hand it over to
We're going to have David Thompson.
David Thompson.
Yeah.
Come on over. Okay.
David's going to present the new Salesforce streaming API and MuleSoft's integration platform, right? Which is now called Cloud Hub. All right.
Oh, you took it. Oh, you didn't take it out. There it is. That's a cable. Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently that's not going to work.
It helps to have a new laptop.